On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode.
Hello, everyone. How are we today? With us today we have Desiree Taylor. Hello.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming. Where are you visiting us from?
I live in the small state of Rhode Island
Oh,
on the East Coast.
nice.
Yes.
Very nice. Never been there. Maybe one day. Who knows? Who knows where the world will take me? So tell us a little bit about who Desiree is.
Well, I'm a wife. I've been married to my husband for about 28 years now, and we have two boys. They're all grown up, 25 and 30. So I'm an empty nester, so to speak, but now the parents are getting older, so we're getting into that season. Um, I am deaf. I found out that I had a progressive hearing loss around 3 or 4. They started seeing some issues, and then
Oh,
by 9, I had my first hearing aid, and around 31, I got my first cochlear implant. So
okay.
um, that's how I'm doing this right now, because otherwise, when I take them off, I don't hear a thing. Um,
Oh, wow. So they work really well then.
they have worked well for me. I work very hard to to make them work as well as I can. So everyone has their own experience. I'm very careful to say that so that I don't
Okay.
set any expectations, you know. But I do work hard and I do a lot of things I couldn't do before.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been a really blessing. My mom was deaf too, so it's a genetic thing. My
Okay.
younger son ended up having the same hearing loss. So we're in the middle of him going through that right now too. Um, so I've been writing in the empty nest season, and I just published my first book in August. So I'm getting into the podcasting world now, which has been really fun. So I'm
Yay!
loving that. Yeah.
It's fun. The podcast world is great. We have been here for I think we're going on 4 years now. I think. I gotta check when I started. It's at least three, but I think it might be four. Huh. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it's been really fun being on them. It's a new experience for me, and to be able to do that is really kind of exciting for me.
That's fantastic. So, um, I'm curious because I've seen people with cochlear implants on TikTok, and I'm just so interested because when I was little in elementary school, um, grades kindergarten to grade 6, we had the separate classes. We had one class for the special needs. We also had a class for deaf class, and so there were certain periods where they would be everyone would come together if you were in that grade level because I want to say the class with the deaf class had maybe 8 kids in it, something like that. So they were different ages. So like
Mm.
during certain periods, if they were in the same grade, they would come over. And so we had Tina. I remember her. She was so sweet. She was so nice. Um, so way back in the day, I knew a little bit of sign language. Shocked her, but I always like now that I see these other things coming up and happening on TikTok, I'm always like, huh, it's so interesting. So what made you like? Because I know it's a decision that you would have to make um,
Mhm.
to go for it. So what made you decide? Because you said what, 31 ish, something like
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what made you decide after all those years?
Well, and I'm really excited to have this conversation because a lot of people will come to certain conclusions about this, and the deaf community is very divided on this issue. So um, it wasn't an easy decision for me because it was scary in a lot of ways, and I had to do a lot of praying in it and talking to my husband and really thinking about what it was going to entail. And I really just came to the conclusion that it was the right way to go for me. I live in a hearing world, and I don't have a lot of deaf people around me. Like, I don't have people who are signing to me or making the effort to help me understand things. And I've dealt with a lot of depression too over the years. And um, to be in your own head, I watched it with my mom, to be in your own head and in your own world all the time when you don't have other people around, because a lot of people who are born deaf or have community that way, it's very different because you have other people who can speak your language. You have other people who
Yeah.
can communicate with you. And I didn't have a lot of that. And every place I went, everywhere I went, the jobs I've had, people are just, they're not nice and they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand the disability. They don't understand what you need. You're constantly having to explain this, and people aren't really willing to do things to help you. And um, I really wanted to hear, though. I wanted to hear music. I wanted to hear my children. Like, one of the things when my kids became older, one of my fears was they're going to go and live somewhere else and I'm not going to be able to talk to them. I'm not going to hear their voice. I'm not going to
Oh,
be able to
yeah.
talk on the phone. And I can do that now. I can turn them off, and I can't have them on all the time sometimes, but I can do those things. And those things were very important to me. So I think that because I live in a hearing world and I don't have a lot of deaf community around me, that was one big thing for me. I really would love to bridge the gap between the people who are born deaf and people who, like me, have made these choices. So it's not such an antagonizing thing because I'm not proud to be deaf. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a deaf person. I tell people that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that I felt like I needed to be fixed or I felt like um, they were trying to force me into something that I didn't want. It was a choice that I made on my own accord, and it didn't have anything to do with whether I was deaf or not. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
how I wanted life to go for me too, a little bit. Like, and if I didn't have that support, I wanted to be able to do those things. And I love being social. I'm a very social person, and you can't do that when people aren't willing to cross the barriers to be social with you.
Mm-hmm. I think those are all such good points. And like you said, it was the decision for you, which is a very important distinction. Everyone has to make the decision that's right for them.
Mm.
And that
Yeah.
goes, across the board with any decision that you need to make, whether or not you're going to move away from your family. Is it the right decision for you, not for somebody else? Like,
Mm.
those are the things that we come across in life, the right decision for you. And when you said, you wanted to hear your kids, that got to me. So, um, we live in the world of autism in my house. And now my kid has always talked. She never shuts up, in fact. But I know some other parents of kids with autism, and they've never heard their kids say anything,
Mhm.
right? And so for them, I obviously different situation, but that
Mm.
idea of as a parent, you want to hear your kid's voice, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
goes across not just the deaf community, but other communities as well. So I think other people can really connect with that sentiment of wanting to hear their kid's voice for the
Mm.
first time, or, hear them say mom or I love you. Like, those are some pretty significant milestones that a lot of people take for granted. Like, I definitely used to take it for granted because, again, my kid never shuts up. But
Mm.
after meeting some other parents that are like, I've never heard him say mom I love you, I'm like, that's kind of heartbreaking, right? Like, they show their affection in other ways, right?
Yeah.
But it's heartbreaking to not hear that from your kid. So I totally can understand why that would be one of the decision making points for you, wanting to hear your kids. How many do you
Yeah.
have? Do you have just the one or
We have two.
two?
My oldest son Kyle's 30 and David is 25. Yeah.
Okay, you look like you're just 30, so
Oh,
good on
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
I I mean, based on you saying it was 31 years and you were 9 when you had fully lost your hearing and things like that, I was like, okay, obviously you're not 30, but you totally look it. And then when you said you had a 30-year-old kid, I was like, okay,
Uh,
what? What? So that's kind of exciting. Any
Thank you.
grandbabies in the future?
I don't know. That's up to the kids, you know.
Right? But that's another. So I have a grandson. He is 5. He is the light of my
Oh,
life. Um, but that would be another thing that would be a big like I love hearing him go, Grammy, I love you. Grandpa, you're poopy. Because Grammy's his favorite. So and the one day we're a little off topic and that's okay. But the one day he was probably about 3.5. And don't get me wrong, he absolutely loves Grandpa. He gets very upset if Grandpa is not around and, too busy like working or something. He loves hanging out with Grandpa. But when Grammy is around, he doesn't like Grandpa. And that's simply because when he was 3.5, he goes, Grammy, I love you. I say, Adrian, I love you. So then Grandpa goes, I love you. And he goes, I don't love you, Grandpa. I love Grammy. And we're like, you know you can love both of us at the same time. No. So in his little world, and I mean he's 5 now, so it's a little different, but I will always remember that. No, because he has this look like I'm so confused. What do you mean I can love 2 people in the same room at the same time? No, no, only one person in the room at a time. It was just the
oh
funniest.
my gosh, that must be so much fun.
Yeah. If it ever happens for you, you will. It's the best. I always tell people that being a grandparent is so much better than being a parent, and I think other grandparents can recognize that.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't say no too often. It's great because I just send him home later. You go home now. Love you. Bye. But he always says, I want to be here forever, Grammy. I'm like, but then I'd have to have rules and it wouldn't be fun. So, no. But anyways, I digress often. So coming back to your story. So I love that it was your decision. And I'm assuming, of course, that your family supported you in this decision.
Yeah, mostly. I don't think my mom was excited. My parents weren't that excited at first. I think my dad sees now that it was the right decision. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think my mom had a harder time just because she had the same deafness, and I don't think she was. I mean, she didn't have the opportunities that I had either. It
Yeah.
was later in life where she could have done it, but I think there's a lot of fear in this too.
Yeah.
So um, and I think that I was just a little stronger in being able to do some things. So there was
Mm-hmm.
always some of that friction with us, um,
Mm-hmm.
because of the differences in how we handled things. But for the most part, and she came around,
Yeah.
because she saw what was happening and she saw how well I was doing and those kind of things. So even the ones who weren't sure at first eventually came around with it.
Well, I'm assuming it's a pretty significant surgery.
Yeah, and it was more so when I had it because I don't know how long it had been around that, but I had like bandages. My kids remember, and I
Oh,
did one at
wow.
a time. I did not do two.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know that I could have. They really weren't suggesting that back then anyway, because it's been like almost 18 years. So since I did
Okay.
it, it's a little crazy. So things are very different now. Like when we
Mm-hmm.
look at things, and as I'm talking to my younger son about this, like his decision about it, when we talk about how he feels about it and what he wants to do, he had
Mm-hmm.
his hearing longer than I did. So
Oh, okay.
he definitely wants to go that direction. But for him, the surgery is not going to be as intensive. They've
They
made
get
so
better
many
at things.
improvements. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's
but it
just
was
it.
a
But
rough
even
time.
even as a parent, I'm sure, and I mean, you have them, so you know how beneficial they can be if that's the decision you want to go. But as a parent, there's still again, I'm making a lot of assumptions there. A little part of you that's worried because it's still a surgery, right? There's always that little worry. Even, I mean, my kid got her wisdom teeth out, and I've got my wisdom teeth that people get them out, but there's still that little worry because anything can always go wrong. And as a parent, you just always want your kids to be healthy and happy and all that stuff. So, even something that is gonna be good and
Mm.
helpful, it's still like as the parent, you're like, I just don't want you to hurt after, right? Like seeing them in pain after the surgery. I remember my little chubby cheeks, and I'm like, oh baby, right? So, you know,
It is, and it is. I don't know if it's harder or easier when you really know what they're going through too. Um,
true, yeah,
you know, because even as he's losing his hearing, I understand the process in that, and that's been kind of painful to watch. Um,
yeah.
So yeah, it's I mean, I want him to do what he wants to do though. I've made that clear to him too. You know,
Yeah.
just I think that's important as parents to make sure that we're not pushing the decisions we made on them because their decisions need to be their decisions because it doesn't matter if they make I mean if they make a decision based on what we've decided, it's not going to be a real decision anyway because it's not
Yeah.
going to mean the same thing, you know. So we've talked a lot about it. I've been really careful and about having those conversations with him. So I think that's important too, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. They again has to be their decision, and you want to be supportive. Just yeah, I know as a parent it can be hard to watch them go. Like even just when they make mistakes, and you're like, I told you not to do that, but I know you need to make your own choices and your own mistakes and learn from them. But it's like as a parent, you want
so
the
hard,
best for them. You know, you just do.
so hard.
So you mentioned you brought it up, so we're gonna go that we're gonna swerve a little bit here.
Okay.
That you've dealt with depression.
Hmm.
So wherever you want to start that story, we'll jump in.
Well, you know what? And I think for a long time I didn't realize what it was, actually, because my
I was
mom,
the same. Yeah.
yeah, sorry, um, my mom struggled with depression too. She was actually,
Mm.
she was in a hospital a few times for
Oh.
it.
Oh, okay.
So, um,
Were you really little when she was, or like bigger?
it's more like teenage years. It seemed as though
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure the deafness didn't help because you're in your head all the time. But
Oh, yeah.
it was when her mom passed away, really, that it started. So um, I had seen her deal with it, but I still didn't really. I think a lot of my hormonal stuff too caused was were triggered it,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had different seasons of it through life. Um, so it kind of started. I want to say it probably started when I was even just a teenager. You know, if I look back and
That's pretty
really
common time, yeah.
take an honest look about it, you know,
Yeah.
um, that's probably where it started. I'm in a good place right now. But I've worked through a lot of things too, and my faith has come into play for that for me. That's been probably the main thing that's helped me get through
Yeah.
it, and just having a good supportive family.
Which is very helpful, yeah.
Mm.
For everyone who's watching, that back there, that little kitty there, she is a shit disturber. Um, so we're keeping our eyes on that one. She's not allowed in here because she will knock everything over. That's why I'm watching her. Her name is Smokey though. She's very floofy and beautiful, but she's a shit disturber. Anyways, whenever there's animals in the camera, my side, the guest side, we have to stop and talk about them because they're just the best. And I can hear her. She keeps going. I don't know what she's doing, but I'm sure it's probably some kind of trouble she's getting herself into. Um, so I was very similar. Like I would say I was depressed as a teenager, but I didn't know. And looking back, and I think that's probably very common, especially with I don't want to call us old, but the older generation. We're not like old, but you know what I mean. Like the generation I would say from even pre 2010. Anybody pre 2010 that was a teenager, I would say would be in a very similar position because mental health, depression, that kind of it wasn't talked about. So
No,
how were
not at
you
all.
supposed to know what it was? Now
Hmm.
we're talking about it, so now people can go, "Oh, I'm depressed." That makes sense. But back then, anything pre 2010, I would say, you
Mm.
didn't know. You didn't have the verbiage because it wasn't talked
They,
about. It was hush hush.
yeah.
Um, so when did you realize, looking back on your life, when did you realize that you had dealt with depression?
Um, I mean, a real honest kind of clicking was probably in my 30s, I think. Because I was a young mom. I had my oldest son when I was 19. So you kind of jump into these roles and you jump into these places.
Yeah.
and we kind of go out the window. Like we don't really think about ourselves as much. So
Yes.
um, I don't think it was until the kids were a little bit older that I realized, wow, I think this is part, this is depression. Like,
Yeah.
and I also saw similarities with things with my mom. I saw, um, there was just a lot of different keys, and I
Hmm.
also realized that how much the hormonal stuff was playing into it, which I didn't realize back then, which was huge because I had
Let's
really bad postpartum depression after
yeah.
my first son.
Okay, let's talk about that a little more because it is not a topic that is often discussed.
Mm,
And I know men go through hormonal changes too, but I feel like as women we go through more because as soon as you're pregnant your hormones are changing. Then you give birth and your hormones are changing, and then if you have more than one baby your hormones are changing, and then you have menopause and your hormones are changing. And that's I didn't even include the first puberty in there. So, you know, our hormones are very erratic. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it's very hush hush still, I think, especially postpartum. I was lucky, knock on wood, I don't think I really had that, but I've talked to some others that have. And the big thing from them, and you can let me know how your story goes, but the big thing
Mm,
from others have been I felt like I wasn't a good mom, and I had to hide that from other people because I didn't want them to know that I was not a good mom.
mm.
That's been a common theme. It's not 100% of people, but it's been a common theme.
Yeah, I think that is a common thought. I mean, I think that is, yeah, you're trying to live up to what everyone else is saying that you should be as a mom, and it feels like you're failing all the time. It really doesn't do anything. I think it feeds depression consistently.
Yes,
um,
exactly.
yeah, and that was part of it. I had no one to tell me what it was. I mean, my mom just wasn't one that, things weren't talked about, like you said.
Hmm.
That generation just didn't talk about things. So I had no one to help me know what was happening. I had no idea what was going on, but it was so bad. Looking back now, I mean, it's miraculous I made out of that okay because it was pretty deep depression. I think that was probably one of my darkest times.
So,
Um,
how did you make it out?
well, I mean, the postpartum stuff does pass eventually, you know, um, but I met my husband soon after that, so he was kind of helpful in, that relationship and moving on in a healthier way. Um, that and my faith. So the mix of all of them together really was helpful at that point. I mean, because
Yes.
there are seasons of it, and there's some seasons that are it's just not there as much, and
Yeah.
then stressors too. When there's a lot of stress, when there's a lot of big things happening in life, um, I found that it came on pretty heavy. Uh, so you have to
Hmm.
learn healthy ways to deal with the things that are going on around you and to have the right boundaries with people around you and to um,
Yes.
I didn't really learn about that until later on in life either, but just how
That's
to
common
manage.
too.
Yeah, because we're all different. So like, and with my hearing, I need more breaks. Like I can't have constant sensory. Like I get sensory
Hmm.
overloaded. So I have to take breaks where I'm out of that for a while. And if I'm forced in that for a long time, it can produce bad reactions for me.
Yeah.
So it's just realizing that, like learning about who you are and what you need and all those things are really important, I think, in all of it.
Yes. So, what are some of your favorite ways that you dealt with it?
Well, you know what? And this is really kind of I think this is my favorite, and it was one of the things that really has helped me, is because depression is so inward and so internal. Um, when we had switched to a new church, I made some really good friends. I just got into everything and just made some good friends. And um, I would just check in with somebody. When I was there, I would just reach out to somebody and I would do something for somebody else. I would go visit somebody. And those things have been very helpful. Now, I have to be careful because I've kind of gone the other way with that, where I can do too much, and
Yes.
then I'm in the same place.
Been there, done that one. That is my biggest fault is you try to get out of it because and so you're like, yep, yep, I'll do that and I'll do that and I'll do that. Sure, 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 sure. And then you're like, oh, now I'm overwhelmed.
Yes. So yeah, we have to learn how to balance that a little bit.
It's a lot
Oh,
easier said than done, I feel like. Although I
yeah,
am
it is.
learning slowly.
Especially when you care about people, I think, because I do. I care really deeply. I think deeply. I feel deeply. All of that, um, and I just love people a lot. So it's hard to not do that, even when I want to, when I know it's probably not what I need to be doing right then. But
Hmm.
that really has been a key thing for me, reaching out to other people because it puts my mind on something else, on somebody else, and I think those things are helpful.
Yeah. Um, and then if you were to give a piece of wisdom to somebody that is, I always like to pick a random question from in our conversation. Um, what piece of wisdom would you give to somebody who needs to make a pretty significant life decision?
Mm. Well, I mean, because of my faith, I pray a lot. So that prayer is a big thing for me. Talking to my husband, and getting his take on things, um, and people who are close to me, really hearing their opinions, and then just really giving myself. I think this is important. Really giving yourself time to just think about what you're really thinking about it. How do you feel about it? And to be able to write that down so that when you are listening to other people, that doesn't get lost. Because I think sometimes, I mean, when we love people and we want to please people, the people in our lives and stuff, that sometimes what we want or we make a decision on something, we just want some advice, but then it changes how we're saying we feel about it. So it changed the decision. And I think if we really take time to really know how we feel about it, how we think about it, and to write that down, just make sure that that doesn't get lost. But doing those other things are very important. And So those are probably the best pieces of advice
I
I
love that.
have.
Yeah, because I mean, even when I'm trying to decide something, I like to talk to my best friend. I like to talk to my husband because their opinion matters to me, but ultimately it's my decision. So I like that writing down your stuff so it doesn't get lost.
Hmm.
Because without that part, you can kind of sometimes forget or ch- change is okay, but like you can forget yourself,
Yes.
and that's where problems can arise.
Yes.
So before you share about your book, is there any last things you want to share?
Hmm. I don't know. I'm always willing to for people to reach out to me if they are making those kind of decisions or anyone with disabilities. Or I'm also I am always looking for people um, who either have a disability or they love someone with a disability to share their stories on my website. I have a page just for that. So
Awesome.
I like putting that out there. I'm trying to remember to put that out there to people so that,
Yeah.
because I really want other people to be able to share their stories. I want people to be able to understand people with disabilities better and
Yeah.
to help advocate for them. That's a big thing for me. So if anyone has a story, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear it and be able to put it on there.
That is fantastic. And what is the website so they know where to go?
Oh, the website is www.arenewedcreation.com. And you can go on there and get a hold of me wherever.
Love that. All right, so let's talk about your book. What's it called?
My book is called Created to Relate Living Beyond Religion. And it talks about, sorry,
It's
my
okay.
story. Because I grew up in a very legalistic and a religious place. And so it takes you through my story from that place to an authentic relationship with Jesus and how that's changed my life. Um, so that's the story.
Oh, very nice. And where do
Mm.
people get it?
You can go on my website that I just gave you, there is a place to buy the book. That's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those other places. And also, I just did the audiobook, which is fascinating for me. Yes, because that's a big thing for me. Because like before I got the cochlear implants, I probably couldn't have done it. So that's something I did because I'm able to speak a little better now. So I'm very excited about that. That's on Audible and Apple, Spotify. I don't know, all the
I
places.
love audiobooks because I like to. So I love all books, but I like audiobooks because I can listen to them when I'm walking my dogs, or honestly, I like to listen to books while I work out. But
Yeah.
you two shush. I've got some rowdy ones over here. That one that was up there, yeah, she's starting stuff. She's starting stuff. Um, lost my train of thought. Yeah, so my husband always makes fun of me because he's like, "How can you listen to a book while you work out?" Because he's all about the loud music, and I'm just like, "Cause I don't know, I like it. It takes my brain somewhere else where my body's doing something."
Yeah, I know. I'll do that too. I'll listen to like podcasts or
Yeah.
it's good hearing therapy for me. That or music or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. And where do people follow you?
Well, I am on Instagram and LinkedIn mainly. I'm on Pinterest and I am going to attempt TikTok. We'll see.
Love me some TikTok. My little snooty animals over here have their own TikTok page.
Do they really?
It's at four cats, three dogs, and they are yes, they're big snooties. They're all like staring at each other. I think a showdown is going on right now. It's kind of entertaining, and the littlest one is on the shelf just staring down at the rest of them. So it's kind of funny. Um, so thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun. Thanks.
All right, you hang on a minute while we say goodbye.
As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.
I love it.